Hi there, good evening. Meteorologist Emily Gracie here from the National Weather Desk giving you an update. Idalia is inching closer to land. We just got that 5 a.m. advisory in from the Hurricane Center. So let's take you to it, show you what's going on here, the latest, because Idalia is now a Category 2 hurricane. The winds have strengthened. The Air Force hurricane hunters were in there and it has strengthened. So let's take you straight here to the radar, show you what's going on. We're seeing a more defined eye, once again, continuing to strengthen over that warm Gulf water. There it is right there. Category 2, Idalia. Those winds are at 100 miles per hour now, making it a Category 2 hurricane. Current location, it's 195 miles southwest of Tampa. It's 300 miles due south of Tallahassee. So we're expecting those areas that are under a hurricane warning to experience tropical storm conditions very soon and then experience those hurricane impacts later tonight and tomorrow. So we are still expecting that landfall somewhere right around this big bend. It's moving to the north right now at 16 miles per hour. And once it does make landfall, it will take that turn off to the north and east. And the inland impacts will be felt through northern Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and perhaps even North Carolina, where there's now some new watches and warnings in effect. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery here. This thing is big. Those bands have been impacting portions of Florida throughout the day today, the Keys all the way up into the Tampa area. And now we're starting to see some of those bands along the panhandle as well. So this is having certainly impacts far and wide. I want to take you to the latest watches, warnings, and advisories here from the Hurricane Center. They should have their graphics updated. They put out the advisory a short time ago, but let's check on those graphics and see how things are looking with that latest cone as well. So here is our cone from 5 p.m. They have updated this. Still expecting a major hurricane landfall tomorrow morning along that Big Bend. Those areas shaded in red, those are the hurricane warnings. And then those areas shaded in blue, those are tropical storm warnings, which you can see now extend up into North Carolina. So there's tropical storm warnings, but then there's also now hurricane watches for portions of Georgia and South Carolina's coastline. So you can see that pink kind of underneath the tropical storm warnings. So that means there could be some hurricane conditions even on the East Coast. The Hurricane Center thinks it could hold on to that hurricane strength for a little while because of that rapid intensification that's going to take place later on tonight and early tomorrow before landfall. So it's going to have a lot of strength as it moves on shore, and then it's going to move pretty quickly out over water by later tomorrow and into early Thursday. So that is taking it off the coast. That track is taking it off the coast and then just kind of lingering in the Atlantic. Not much to steer it after that. So a lot of uncertainty in that long term and also not a lot of movement in the long term. So that's the latest cone. Let's take a look here at some of the threats because the biggest threat, once again, we've been talking about it, it's that storm surge. So this is where things get a little bit scary. 10 to 15 feet of storm surge right there in that big bend. In fact, I want to take you to a map. And if you go to Climate Central's website, you can actually find this map. But take a look at this because it shows what that actually looks like on a map, what 10 to 15 feet of water inundating an area can look like. So I'm going to put the water level here at about, let's say, about 5 feet and show you what it looks like in some of these very low lying areas. And it generates what that looks like as far as inundation. So Appalachia Bay is kind of the area we're honed in on a lot of wildlife reserves in this area. Which is a little bit of good news as far as population, but there's still going to be plenty of people impacted. Right here, this road I'm looking at, even at 5 feet of water inundation, 98 is covered in water. And then some of these inland inlets really get a lot of the storage as well. So even into Old Town, you can see water inundating right there along the Swanee River. These are areas that need to be aware of that inland surge possibility. When you get it even higher, let's say closer to 8 feet, it really starts to move inland in some areas, and a lot more roads are covered in water. So that's what we're concerned with, is that storm surge where it does make landfall, and then of course surge possibilities even on the east coast of Florida. So we'll be watching for that. So that's the biggest concern, is that surge, but there's definitely other concerns as well. In fact, in recent years, there's really been an uptick in issues after a hurricane makes landfall, and that comes with inland flooding. So That's something that's going to be an issue all the way into places like Augusta, Columbia, South Carolina, even into North Carolina along the Outer Banks where some of these really heavy rainfall totals are. So, Tallahassee up into central Georgia are going to get quite a bit of rain. We're talking several inches possible. So, that flash flooding is going to be a concern. All these areas shaded in red, that kind of swath from one end of the coastline to the other. So, that's something to watch for, certainly. Plenty of concerns. Tornadoes are going to be a concern as well as it moves inland, so we'll watch for that over the next 24 hours. The Hurricane Center puts out their key messages, of course, warning people of the surge, that life threatening storm surge inundation of 10 to 15 feet above ground level. So if you think about how high that is, it's terrifying. There's also going to be that threat of winds. We don't talk that much about winds, but certainly that could cause some power outages that could last for days. So prepare for those power outages. That's going to be something we think about as well. So there's the latest there. The satellite imagery showing where Idalia is right now. Now, as far as the timing, let's pull up our computer model here and have a look at the timeline here. We are expecting that landfall, like I said, sometime tomorrow morning, somewhere in that Big Bend of Florida, and it's going to be potentially a major hurricane, a category 3 or 4 when it makes landfall. But once again, remember, when we categorize hurricanes, we categorize them according to wind. It does not classify them according to their impact when it comes to water. So that's something to remember. While a major category 3 or 4 is certainly terrifying, it's not the only factor when it comes to the damage that a hurricane can do. And then we are expecting it to move through Georgia during the day tomorrow, causing that heavy rain, Georgia into South Carolina, and the center of it moving off the coast somewhere around that North Carolina South Carolina border, likely later tomorrow into early Friday. So this is Thursday night that we're looking at this point, and it's off the coast there of the Carolinas and then just kind of lingering. So this is something we're going to be dealing with the next couple of days, but certainly tonight and tomorrow is when things get very active. We'll continue to bring you updates on the storm, of course, here. And stay safe and continue to keep an eye on our social media pages as well as the National Hurricane Center. A great resource there for any pertinent information. They update it every 3 hours.